Hi guys, welcome back. I'm excited to talk to you today about lesson 21 because we're going to talk about exponents. We've been talking about exponents like this. 3 squared, right? Times 9, or times 9, times 3, which is 9, right? But now we're going to introduce those with variables. And it's a pretty easy rule to understand. Actually, what I'd like to do first, before we even do that, is I'm going to give you some rules for exponents. Guys, make sure you have your notebook out and that you've opened it up to the videos notes section and that you're writing down these notes and doing the practice problems because these notes are going to be super important. All right, the first rule that I want to talk about, x to the second power times x to the third power. Why is this one important? Well, let's see. X squared means that we have 2 x's. X to the third means we have 3 x's. How many x's do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x squared times x to the third is x to the fifth. Guys, what did I do there? You see 2 plus 3 gives me 5. So it's a little tricky. Even though this is multiplication, you gotta add these guys. You gotta add those guys. So this is your first rule. Make sure you have that down, okay? Your second rule. Your second rule will look like this. X squared, let's do this. X to the third power squared. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of side work just to show you what this rule is. X third 2 times, right? X third. Well, that means x times x times x times x times, times x times x. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x's. So what we're saying is x to the third squared is x to the sixth. That's your second rule. What have we done there? Looks like we have multiplied those 2 numbers. We have multiplied these numbers. Okay, let's talk about, for right now, those are the only 2 rules that we're actually going to go over. We will deal with negative exponents at a later date. But for right now, let's talk about some of these rules. All right, let's put those to variables. X squared, y squared, x to the fifth, y to the third. This is example number 1, okay? Example number 1. I'll write that as, you should put it in your book as example number 1 so we don't get confused, practice problems or whatever. Okay, so what I can do is reorder this guy. Remember, we're allowed to multiply anything, we're allowed to multiply things in any order. That's called our commutative property. So I'm going to rearrange this guy, x squared times x to the fifth times y squared times y to the third. Well, we just learned with our new rules of exponents, if something looks like this, we can add those exponents. So this simplifies down to 5, 6, 7, and y to the fifth. Now, folks, you notice I did not add x and y together. That's because you can only combine bases that are the same. So this is, by the way, called your base, and this is called your exponent. So we can only combine those guys. So I've combined all my x's, and now I have 7 of them. I've combined all my y's, and now I have 5. All right, so let's try example number 2. Tall girl problems, by the way. I'm almost 6 feet tall, which means I never have sweaters that are long enough. And so when I'm reaching, it's annoying. All right, x squared, y to the third, m to the fifth, x to the third, y squared. All right, so guys, you don't have to show your work by rearranging these, but if you're struggling with this, I highly recommend take all your x's, and we want to do it actually in alphabetical order. So I have an m here, so I'm going to rearrange this, m to the fifth, and then I've got x squared, x to the third, y to the second, y to the third. So now I've rearranged this. M's can't really do anything with that because I don't have multiple ones. But those x's, it turns out that I have 2 plus 3, which will give me 5 x's. Y squared plus y to the third, add those together, we get y to the fifth. Now, folks, remember what I said was chunks are broken up by addition and subtraction. Notice we haven't had any addition subtraction here yet. That's a good thing to remember because for this next example, it can get a little tricky. Example number 3 looks like this. X, y squared x3. Now do not be fooled here. This y squared does not go to this y or this x. Folks, we're mathematicians. Remember what I told you about mathematicians? We are lazy. We want to do the easiest thing possible. What that means is sometimes we have what we call invisible math or assumed math, right? In this invisible math, these all have exponents, but they're not shown. Anytime we have a number or a base without an exponent, it's not shown. It's assumed to be a 1. So guys, while we're learning this, if you need to throw a 1 in there for your exponents, please by all means do. That will help you understand that there are actually 4 bases here, not just 2 bases, okay? So we're gonna gather up all those x's, and we have 1 and then 3, right? So that's gonna be 4. And then gather up our y's. We have 2 here, 1 here, that gives us y to the 3rd. So do not be fooled. If an exponent is not shown, that exponent is 1. Exponent is 1. All right, so for example number 4. M to the 3rd p m x p, or m squared x to the 3rd p to the 5th. All right, again, we've got a bunch of things here with an exponent of 1. Let's throw a 1 here, a 1 there, a 1 there. Good. So now we have, let's gather up all of our stuff in alphabetical order. M to the 3rd, so that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. So m to the 6th, and then I'm going to cancel them out so that I get them out of the way, right? Now we have p to the 1 and 5 is 6. And then we have x to the 1, x to the 3, which gives us x to the 4th. And there we go. We've simplified that out. All right, so now we're going to talk about adding like terms. Guys, terms, again, are chunks that are broken up by addition and subtraction. So what we're going to do for this first example here, I'm going to pause. All right, so I paused so you don't have to sit here and watch me write all these out. I'm move my face around, though, so that I get a little bit more room. All right, so chunks are broken up by addition and subtraction, right? So let's be very clear here. We have 4 chunks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, guys, within those chunks, it's really important that your variables all be alphabetized. Otherwise, it's gonna be a big pain in the butt, okay? So looking at this guy, it's p to the 5th, x squared, y to the 1st, right? But we don't write that. Plus, oh, and another part of invisible math. Do you see a number here? No, that does not mean that the number is 0. It means the number is 1. We just don't show it. Think if you have like x plus 5x, that would equal 6x because there's a hidden 1 right in there, okay? So now we have 2, and I'm putting it in order, p5xy squared plus 3p5x squared y minus 7p5xy squared. So there I've just rewritten my chunks, and within those chunks I have written them in alphabetical order. As you're copying the problem down from the book, that's a good idea to do it that way. Okay, so looking at these guys, now we've got to combine like terms. Personally, I think it's easiest if we underline the chunks that we're going to be combining. So taking a look at this guy, they have to be exactly the same. The exponents, or not the exponents, I'm sorry, the whole chunk that comes after the number has to be exactly the same. If it's not, got to get out of there. You can't combine them. So I look at it and I see that this one is p5x2y. p5x2y. These guys are the same. Beautiful. This is p5xy2. p5xy2. So this guy can be combined with this guy. Now, notice how I'm underlining that property that comes in. I didn't do it over here because those were positive, and sometimes my brain just does things automatically. But I'm underlining that property, or I'm sorry, that operation that comes before there. That's to remind us, hey, yo, that's negative. Don't forget about that. All right, so we're going to start with this one and this one. Again, remember there's a 1 in front of here, so that's going to be 4 p5x squared y. Notice we're not touching our little tag that goes with our number, right? We're not changing that. We only change them when we're multiplying. So we don't do anything with these guys, okay? We just deal with the number that's in front. Looking at this one, we have 2 and -7. That's going to give us -5, and then the tag that attaches to those is p5xy2, p5xy2. So that would be as simplified as that guy is going to get. All right, so let's try another example. All right, so I paused it so that you didn't have to sit here and watch me write this, but this is example number 6, okay? Example number 6. Guys, they're throwing a boatload of variables at you just to throw you off your game. It's not as complicated as it looks, okay? Remember, chunks are broken up by addition and subtraction. So we've got a chunk here, 2, 3, and 4. We got our 4 chunks here. It's not going to be the end of the world. However, within those chunks, remember, we got to write these in alphabetical order. So we get 2, and instead I've got m to the third p x y squared, okay? Plus 3, and then I'm going to do m to the third p x y squared minus 10 m to the third pxy squared. Do you see why it's important we put these in alphabetical order? You can see that they're all going to be like terms, and it's going to be nice and easy. Guys, at the end here, there's no variable, or I'm sorry, there's no number, no coefficient. That's what it's called, the number that's in front of variables. There's no coefficient here, so I'm going to throw in a 1 because we're allowed to do that. 1 m3 px, oh, x squared y. Did I write? Let's double check that I wrote that down correctly. I did. X squared y. So do you notice that this x squared y doesn't match with this xy squared, xy squared, x? So we still have those 4 chunks, right? Let's see which ones we can attach. This one is 2 m3pxy squared. 3. Oh, got a little excited about my underlining. 3 m3pxy squared. Negative 10 m3pxy squared. 1 m3px squared y. Whoop, that doesn't match, so that's going to be a separate one. Okay, so let's take a look at these underlined ones. And guys, what I am doing right now, showing you, this is how your work needs to look when you're doing these problems, okay? So we take a look at this, and that first one, all these single underlined ones, right? 2 plus 3 is 5, minus 10 is negative 5. So we're going to have negative 5 m3pxy squared. God, they really do pick a lot of variables just to throw you off. Plus 1 m3px squared y. That is simplified. That is simplified. All right, let's look at example number 7. Example number 7. All right, so we've got 2x squared y plus 3yx squared plus x squared y squared minus x squared y minus 4x squared y squared. What? All right, within these, let's again establish how many chunks do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 chunks. 5 chunks. Within those chunks, we need to alphabetize. So 2x squared y plus 3x squared y plus, oh, is there a number here? No, so we're going to throw in a 1. 1x squared y squared minus no number here, so we're going to throw in a 1. X squared y minus 4x squared y squared. All right, let's see which of these we can gather up, right? X squared y, x squared y, x squared y squared, nope, that doesn't match. X squared y, this one does. Then I've got x squared y squared, that one definitely does, and it matches up with this guy. Again, notice that I am underlining the operation that comes before that chunk. That's to make sure we do our positives and negatives correctly. Okay, so let's take a look at this first one here. We have, so the single underline, and again, this is how your work should look when you are completing it on your homework. If it does not, you are doing yourself a massive disservice. It may seem like a lot and you're gonna try and cut corners and be lazy. I can do that all in my head. You're gonna make mistakes, okay? Don't make mistakes. Don't do it on my watch. You don't want to. So again, we're looking at these single underlined ones. We're gonna add all those up. 2 and 3 is 5. Minus 1 is gonna be 4. And the tag to go with that is x squared y, right? X squared y. Now our x squared y squareds, we have 1 and -4. This is why it's important you underline those operations. 1 and -4 is going to give us -3 x squared y squared. -3 x squared y squared. And now we can't combine those because they do not match exactly, okay? So that is our example there. All right, folks, for your practice problems on page 93, about halfway down the page there, or at the bottom of the page, you'll have 4 practice, more than 4, 1, 2, oh no, 4 practice problems. So I want you to pause the video now, go ahead and do those practice problems, come on back. And if you don't get them right when you come back, that's when we know we need to work together. Okay, so x, y, x4, x3, y5. Okay, so again, just to make life easier, let's attach an exponent to places where there isn't one. So we're going to do x to the 1, y to the 1. All right, let's gather up all of our x's. We have 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 6, 7, 8, plus 3 is 8. Okay, so 8 x's. How many y's do we have? Well, we got 1 there and 5 there. That gives us 6 y's. Again, if you didn't get that one correct, and you need to ask questions, please do in class, okay? So for B, we have x to the third, x, y squared, y5, x7, m. Again, let's throw in our exponent for ones that are missing. We got a 1 here, a 1 here, and a 1 here. We're going to start in alphabetical order with our 2 m's, which means we have m squared. Now for our x's, we have 1x there and 7 there. We have x to the 8th power. Oh, nope. Did you see I miscounted? 3, 4, and 7 is 11 x's. 11 x's. Y, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 y's here. Okay? All right, let's talk about C and D. For C, we have 2x squared y to the third plus xy minus 8y third x squared minus 5yx. Okay, again, we have 4 chunks in this problem. We got this chunk right here. We got this chunk right here. This chunk right here. This chunk right here. Let's rewrite those chunks and make sure that they are properly alphabetized. X squared y cubed plus, there's no number here, so let's go ahead and put that in. 1xy minus 8x squared y to the third minus 5xy. All right, now we are in a position, and guys, if you need colored pencils to do this underlining, by all means, use colored pencils. Let's talk about x squared y to the third. There's 1. Oh, and there's another x squared y to the third. Again, do you notice that I'm underlining that operation that comes before it? We don't want to drop our negatives. All right, and then we've got an xy and this xy, and again, underlining the operation. So let's look at those single underlines, this one and this one. 2 and -8 gives us -6, and it's x squared y to the third. Okay, x squared y to the third. Now we have 1xy, -5xy. That's -4xy. And that is it. That is as much as we can simplify. All right, so let's look at D. X to the 6th y plus yx6 plus 3xy minus 5xy to the 6th. Excellent. Speaking of x's. All right, we have a chunk here. Got a chunk here, chunk here, chunk here. We got 4 chunks. Taking a look at that first chunk, it is in alphabetical order, but it's missing a 1 in the front, so that we don't want to lose that. x6y plus, now this guy, not in alphabetical order, so x6y plus 3xy minus 5xy6. xy6. All right, so let's take a look at the ones that we might be able to combine. I see an, oh, you know what else I forgot? Take a look here. There's no number in front here, so we're going to put a 1. Okay, let's check out our x6y. This is x to the 6th y, x to the 6th y. and no more. Now, looking at this guy, xy, I do not see any other xy's that can go with this. Xy to the 6th, I don't see any that can go with that. So we actually have a 3-chunker here, 3 chunks. The first one we're able to combine, 1 and 1 is 2, so 2x6y plus, now we just bring all this other garbage down, 3xy minus 5xy6, 5xy6. Okay, so now I don't normally do this, but I want to do a couple more practice problems with you because I think these are going to be tricky. So if you turn the page, I'm going to actually do some of the homework problems. So if you're watching the video, good on you because you'll get the homework done. Let's do number 15. Number 15. All right, what I'd like you to do, pause the video, attempt this problem on your own, and then come on back. All right, so what we're going to do is, now, guys, in a couple lessons, you're going to be so good at this that you're going to look at them in the book, and as you write it down, you're just going to accidentally alphabetize it. You're not going to write down the problem the way it's written here. You're just going to alphabetize. That's totally fine. I think it's always a good idea to copy down the problem exactly how it is in the book, but if you do it that way, where you just do it alphabetizing, that's fine. Okay, again, a friendly reminder, chunks are broken up by addition, subtraction. So we got a chunk here, we got a chunk here, chunk here, chunk here, and chunk here. We got a 5 chunk, right? We're going to rewrite this problem, making sure that everything within our chunks is alphabetized. And in order to do that, we've got, and right here, we're going to throw in our 1. So 1x squared minus 3xy plus 2x squared y minus 2xy minus, there's no number, so let's put in a 1xy. All right, let's see what we got. First things first, that first chunk, 1x squared, actually that's not going to combine with anything else, so we'll just leave it like that. Xy, 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 so let's do those. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Again, notice that I'm underlining that operation that comes before it. That's to help remind us. X squared y, I don't see anything else, so we're just going to do a 3 for there. All right, so let's go ahead and combine. We're going to start with this guy here. Now, I'm just going to take away that 1 because there's nothing really to do. And I mean, you could write a 1 in front of there, but you are fast becoming a very good mathematician. Mathematicians are lazy, so we don't like to write our variables if it's a 1. I'm sorry, our coefficients if it's a 1. So be a good mathematician and don't write it. Okay, so that was this guy. And guys, when there's 5, sometimes I'll just be like, cross that off so I don't accidentally see it again. Now let's do this, this, and this. We have -3, -2, and -1. Gather up all those negatives, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 negatives. XY, with that XY tag that goes with it, right? And guys, then we have just this one left, so we do plus x squared y, and that is your answer. Now, again, in the back of the book, these answers may not look exactly like this, like maybe they're out of order. You really want to be careful just to make sure that all of your coefficients match. Your coefficients, and then if this says like yx in the back of the book, that's fine too, but get good at being able to read those, okay? You may have to actually help your parents with that as well. Okay, so any questions, let me know. Otherwise, absolutely great work. Thank you so much.